I was born and raised in a small little village in Orissa, tribal area called Titilagad. My father was a small-time lumber businessman. It was an interesting, happy family. I remember as a child when my father bought first radio in Titilagad. You couldn't receive anything. So we as little kids would tune in the radio and just listen to the whistle. And it was great joy to listen to almost nothing. Studied for 5 years in Vidyanagar and then decided to go to Baroda. Went to college there, got a degree in physics, then studied for masters in physics, and one fine day read in the newspaper that Kennedy has decided to take man onto the moon. My brother, older brother, had great desire that I should go to America. So he said, this is the time you must go. But we didn't have money. Finally, we got some money from Orissa government and decided to go to the US. My wife came after I came to Chicago. After I got my degree in electrical engineering from Illinois Institute of Technology in Chicago, I got a job, company making television tuners. So in this company, I went to work for the first time, and my name Satyan is a little complicated. So when I get my paycheck, first paycheck, it says Sam. That's how I changed my name to Sam. I started business to manufacture digital switching systems with two Americans. We sold the company in 1979 to Rockwell International. Made a little bit of money. So I told my wife that I want to go to India. I saw in Delhi a funeral of telephones, dead phones. So I went to see Mr. Baria, a very nice gentleman, and I said, look, I have this wild idea on working on Indian telecom. So he said, if you really want to do something big, you must meet Mrs. Gandhi. I was told that I'm going to meet her, for 10 minutes, and I thought about it just before the meeting and I cancelled it. I said, I don't meet her for 10 minutes. If she's really serious, I must get 1 hour. Then I could explain to her what I want to propose. And everybody said, are you crazy? And after about 8 months, I got a call saying Mrs. Gandhi will meet you for an hour. And she had her entire cabinet there, all ministers. And Rajiv and his friends were also there. This gave me a chance to interact with Rajiv. And we were just about the same age. And we sort of clicked. And my message was, telecom is critical for nation building. I can help bring new digital technology and leapfrog. My proposal would be indigenous development, focus on access as opposed to telephone density, young talent, and rural communication. And then when Mrs. Gandhi died, learned that Rajiv will become Prime Minister. And then Rajiv was going to come to Washington. He was Prime Minister. And we got half an hour to meet him. He was so gracious, very welcoming, and talked to Anu and said, look Anu, what about children's school and admissions? And my wife was instantly ready to come back.
India was on rotary phones, less than 1 million total connections. The fastest way to speak to somebody was by way of booking a lightning call, which also would mature after 4 or 5 hours.
So Rajiv and I talked at length and I said, look, we have to take charge of the telecom department. But minister and the bureaucracy couldn't see somebody from outside coming in and taking charge of telecom. So I told Rajiv, you have to put your foot down. And we collectively put our foot down, set up a commission, and I was appointed chairman of Telecom Commission.
Most of the bureaucratic approach towards telecom was, it's a luxury, not required, not necessary, high security risks of private sector had no role to play. And that was the time when a person like Sam came, like I would say a messiah in the sector, and dramatically altered the I would say, basic foundations of the sector.
With the help of others in the telecom, put together a long-term plan, 3-year plan, and said we want to install STD PCOs everywhere.
He said access to a phone. So the public phone became his mantra to provide access to people.
And people will go there to make a phone call, pay cash, and we'll work out an arrangement with telephone company. They'll give 80% to telephone company, 20% they will keep, and you will create possibility for livelihood.
He wanted to bring out a rural telephone exchange every day from the telecom department, and it was technically impossible the way the structure was. He revitalized it.
In early days, we wanted to install one every week, which everybody thought was crazy. But then we said once a day. So I remember headline in India saying racks a day, hoax a day. Finally, we got to a point we were installing 3 every day.
In less than 20 years, you have a STD PCO in every village in India. You can ring up America, and everywhere everyone picks up a phone in India, in a village in India, they say Sam Zindabad.
Looked at the organizational structure for telecom to move forward, because C-Dot was one little piece of product. In those days, it was not about just designing a product. It was also about designing ecosystem, because India didn't make anything.
The switching industry was in the hands of a few, and those very lobbies were very active to ensure that India, when it was moving on to the telecom bandwagon in a big way, went for either ESS, the AT&T switch, or EWSD, the Siemens switch, or the Alcatel System 10. So all these companies were world giants, and they wanted India to buy those equipments.